So today we've got the handover for a 2007 Nuevo. This has got a different seating system in it to conventional Ducatos and Boxers. So the toolkit on this one is in a separate bag elsewhere in the vehicle. Our engine battery remains, however, underneath the floor, and our bonnet release is on the end. Bonnet release is centrally located, so push up on the tab and draw it back. On this one, your screen wash, brake fluid, power steering fluid and radiator reservoir are all on this side. Oil for the filler on top, and then dipstick just down the side on that one. On these, should you need to jump start the vehicle because the engine battery position, then attach your positive onto the cap just there, and the negative goes onto the little bolt that's just there. When we come around to the driver's side of the vehicle, you've got this gas locker down here. So this is fitted out with a propane cylinder. Turning on and the gas off is done by the brass fitting on the top. So screw it clockwise to turn the gas off, screw it anti-clockwise to unscrew it, and it's left-hand thread to change over to a different cylinder. There are two ports on the lower skirt. You've got a freshwater drain for emptying the freshwater tank, and at the back there's a much more substantial lever for the grey water supply, and this is your access through for the spare wheel change. Fresh water filler cap, just a small silver key in, hose pipe straight in, and that will fill up onto the tank. You have your exhaust vent here for your heating system and your mains hookup, and then towards the back you've got a separate reservoir on this generation for the flush water, so a mixture of fresh water and pink solution for the top of the toilet cassette, and then the cassette below is straightforward. So as we've shown you many times in the past, up on the yellow lever, pull the whole body of the cassette out completely. Yellow cap off the top on this one, and then press in on the yellow button. That allows the waste then to empty out the bottom. Inside the top of these, you've got a measuring cup, up to a cap full of green chemical for the Highlands, mixed with about 2 litres of water. Previous owners actually very kindly put some extra bits of information on the top there for you, and then slide it back in, ready for use. Ladder on this one is just a form pull on these plastic clips. For your own security, probably recommend some kind of strapping mechanism or even a little padlock or something like that, just to stop anybody else gaining access onto the roof of the vehicle when it's parked up. Step is controlled via a switch just inside the caravan door, so it enables you to open and close like so. Behind the caravan door, you've got your ventilation for the fridge. Inside the vehicle, we've got some winter covers that can be clipped back into position. They stop any muck, any debris getting in through the winter months, and enable you to operate the fridge at much lower outside temperatures. Go underneath, and we've got the original carpets still rolled up underneath, all right, but it gives you a wide access into that underbed locker. And then below that, it's a separate locker space. This particular person's decided to keep the mains lead in, which is probably a really useful space. You put levelling wedges into there as well. So tee up into the slot on the awnings on this one. On AutoSleepers of this generation, they are integrated into the side body. It might take a couple of turns to get them started, and the early ones had a much slower gearing mechanism, so it can take a little bit more effort to get them out. Same rules as always though, these are sunshades, so wet or windy conditions, you need to make sure that they are put away. Wind it out to a midpoint, squeeze in your leg so they're spring loaded, let the leg slide down to your fingertips, and then lock the clip back into position, and do the same on the other side. So spring clip in, slide it through your fingertips, and then lock off like so. And then I would reattach the handle and then walk the awning out the remaining distance. Full projection on it, about 2.5 meters. We're up against the posts here, so we won't take it out any further. We'll start to put it away and disassemble it. When you're winding it in, sometimes these legs just drop down, just make sure it's pushed up so that it slides back underneath the box. Otherwise they can end up getting trapped. So it just needs a little bit of a nudge. Just hear a little click then, and then it should go quite neatly. And it's locked back in then to the side of the body of the van. The 12-volt control panels on these are a touchscreen format. They are permanently connected to the 12-volt supply, so they should always show some kind of display. They never fully switch themselves off. So you've got date and time that's being shown up on there at this moment. If you touch in on this one, it will actually show you as a level indicator, some sort of kind of internal sort of mercury switch that will show you how level the vehicle is. Press on the return and it'll come onto that one. Touch any other part of the screen and turn it on, and you then should see some additional information coming up on these little buttons across the bottom. We're currently plugged in onto the mains at the moment, so it's charging the battery system. We're using the habitation battery, and then we've got the internal water pump switch and the awning. If I press the internal water pump switch and it goes to black, then it means the pump is switched on. And if I turn onto the awning one, there we go, you should see some little symbols come up onto the bottom of it, and that indicates that the outside awning light is on again. Touch any part of the screen and you will see all of the rest of the control switches, as it were, or touch parts coming up. Some of these are informative, so if we touch on a habitation one, it will give you a voltage. Touch the screen again, vehicle for example, and your internal and external temperatures, fresh water level indicator, okay, and then go back through, and then you can also control the lighting system. So again, these are black with little lines hanging off the bottom of them indicating that you've got light going into the different 12-volt systems. So you've got a couple of controls down the back on this side, so you can obviously adjust the clock and change some of the setup controls if required. Drain is actually referring to the amount of drain or energy, oops, just touched the wrong button there, showing you how much input or output there is coming in or off of the battery. If you press the return, it will take you back to your front screen again, and you'll see again we've still got the awning on. Use the water pump on demand. So we've opened up the wardrobe, take out this floor panel, open up the drawer, and at the back you've got your mains RCD control panel. So these are all up at the moment, indicating that our main supply is running into the van. To isolate it, you can turn everything off and push down, and if you want to test the supply, use the master switch, pull it up, and then press the little blue switch, and it should trip out immediately, indicating you've got a good supply coming in. Mounted beneath this, you can see the water heater. Some will know that you've got a drain valve on these water heaters. AutoSleepers are being actually quite clever. They put the drain valve for the water heater in another location, so you don't have to worry about getting too much into that space. At the back of the wardrobe, on the right hand side, you've got your isolator taps for your gas appliances. Generally speaking, if you switch on and off at the bottle, then that's usually sufficient, but if you want to isolate the supplies, you can do so. So you've got one for the cooker hob, the fridge, the room heating system, and the water heater. Turn them through 90 degrees as the label illustrates, and that should then shut the supplies off to those individual units. We'll talk about these in a bit more detail later on, but you've got an electric water heater switch and the electric room heater switch. They will need to be on for those applications to work later on. Couple of details that we need to go through with you when we come underneath the driver's side bed box. This is the underneath here. If you remove this, you've got your leisure battery. On the side of this has been fitted an actual isolator switch. I mentioned earlier in the handover video about the control panel that will always have a permanent feed to it. Someone in their infinite wisdom has decided to put in an isolator switch. So if that is turned off, it shuts off the 12-volt power supply up to the control panel. Useful feature. Down on the floor, you've got your classic Truma drain valve for the water heater. So this one's lying in the horizontal position. It's allowing the water to come from the onboard tank to be pumped through the hot water heater up into the rest of the plumbing system. But for winter storage, you will need to lift this one to the vertical position to allow the content of the water heater to drain out. Leave your interior taps open in the sink, shower, the vanity unit, so you can let the whole system drain off for winter storage. So there are two methods of heating the water up within the vehicle. You have to make sure that you have a constant pressure of cold water coming out of all of your hot taps before you start to use the water heater at all. If there's any kind of aeration, then it will affect how the water heater performs, could even damage the appliance. If you're wild camping, if you're only wanting to operate the system on gas, then you'll need to make sure that this little bezel here is turned from the 0 position to the flame. You may well hear a little click from inside the wardrobe as it ignites. It's a bit of a bright sunny day today, but you should be able to see a little green light come on there indicating that the system has fired up. If it fails to ignite, maybe because the gas has been switched off or you've run out of gas, you might see it accompanied by a little red lamp. Turn the appliance off, check your gas supplies, and then begin again. To turn it off, turn it back through to that position. Central dial is an internal thermostat, so you can heat the water between 30 and 70 degrees. I mentioned at the back of the wardrobe you've got a separate switch for the electrical element. That will only heat the water up to a fixed temperature of around about 55-60 degrees centigrade. Room heating system, two choices in terms of heat output. You've got a gas operated system, you've got an electrical supply as well. For the gas, turn dial all the way around. You may well hear a clicking from within the appliance. Push down, you'll hear the clicking tone change just slightly, and when you release, you may well hear a bit of a pop as it takes off. If you hold your head about 45 degrees to the slot there, you may well see the flame inside the flame chamber. That will just work as a conventional gas convection heater. Over on the top of the right hand side of the appliance, you've got a 12-volt circulation fan. You can use this independently. If it's warm weather like we've got today, you can use it to recirculate the airflow within the vehicle. Manually, you can draw it back towards what I call the shark fin symbol, all right, and you can adjust the speed of the fan, and it will turn over the airflow and blow it out through the various outlets that there are located around the camper. Turn the switch back to the middle position, that turns it off. If you use it in the A mode, the thermostat kicks in and it works in conjunction with either the gas or the electrical thermostats, and it gives you a sort of more regulatory input or output from the gas supply. The electrical control for the room heating system is above the kitchen sink. You will have had to have turned on the heater switch, which is at the back of the wardrobe, and then you can then adjust the outer part of the dial. If I turn it down towards either 500 or 1000, you'll see a little green light come on the right hand side of the dial, indicating that the heating system is cut in. You'll have to use these for weaker campsites, perhaps if you're on the continent. If you've got a stronger main supply available to you, then you can go up to the 2000 watt setting and obviously use that as an application instead. And then you have a central thermostat. Higher the number, the greater the heat output from the fire unit. The fridge controls, you've got a three-way fridge from Dometic in this one. So up at the top is your off position. If you turn it to the 1 o'clock position, you'll hear a faint clicking in the background as the gas igniter tries to take hold, and you should see a constant amber light there indicating that the gas system has lit. So you can use it then if you're wild camping. If you plugged it onto the mains hookup, you go down one setting, assuming that you've connected to the main supply, you should see a green light come on to there. The 12-volt supply only comes into play when the engine is running, so you're only going to see a red lamp on that one if the engine's switched on, and it's the driving mode for maintaining the temperature within the fridge. So it's working on the assumption that you've chilled the fridge in advance on gas or electric beforehand, and then you're setting off on your journey. As soon as you arrive on campsite, you'll need to switch it back to either the mains or gas, depending on which supply that you're using. Thermostat control, the thicker the lines that there are, obviously the colder the temperature within the appliance. and then you also have a double lock mechanism on these doors. So if you just pull your fingers just slightly forward, it just retains it in that position. So for storage, again, you're preventing the fridge inside from getting too mildewy. With the gas appliance, make sure that the lid is right up. If you're operating it for the gas, then you've got individual igniters for the individual burners all the way through. It's a very, very bright sunny day here. It's a classic example with these stainless steel backgrounds. It can be quite difficult to see the flame. If you are plugged in onto mains, you've got the option of using a hot plate at the back, and you'll see a red light come on to the front of the appliance. Make sure that these have cooled fully, otherwise when you draw the glass back down, it can still heat up and it can still cause the glass to explode. Grill operation. Again, central dial. Hold it in for a couple of seconds and you should see the flame up inside on the burner. And then for the oven, finally. And there it is, taking off on that one. On this generation of Nuevo, they use a slightly different seat system. So you have two corner mouldings here. If you pull on the innermost one, then that will allow the seat to swivel. And if you pull on the outermost one, it allows then the backrest to be adjusted. All right, and then you've got bezel adjustments on the side for the pitch and roll of the seat as well. Wheel caps on the inside for adjusting the height of the armrests, and the seat belts are integrated into the seat on these as well. Controls on this one are fairly straightforward. Just turn the ignition over just slightly just so that we can see what you've got here. So over on the left hand side you've got your normal light switches, so you turn the outer part of the bezel to a side light or a dipped, and then pull back towards you for main beam, and then your indicator controls are on that main stalk. Over on the right hand side you've got your wiper controls, so you can set it to either just to a flick wipe, or obviously take it up through the different cycles of speeds and then back for your screen. Headlamp beam adjustment is controlled onto that one, and then you've got your electric mirrors and electric window controls over on the driver's door. So your central controls, you've got these features along this little line here. You've got heated mirrors which you can control, single rear fog lamp, your hazard light switches. With the caravan habitation door shut fully, you should be able to activate central locking and lock the vehicle all through, and obviously release it on that side as well. Ventilation controls, the speed of the fan is controlled at the bottom, the direction or the airflow, where it's either whether it's being recirculated or drawing in from outside, on the bottom of the right hand dial, and then the direction of speed, direction of airflow I should say, around the top, and obviously your temperature control around on that one. Onto that. Glove boxes, you've got a locking glove box in the centre, small low profile one at the bottom, and there is also a dashboard one at the top as well. And on this generation, these came with a pop-up clipboard as well that you can utilise, like so. So that concludes the handover for this van. Sincerely hope that it's been informative for you and that the van's going to give you lots of miles and lots of smiles. On behalf of Highland Camper Vans, thank you for watching.